the Tales series, my beloved. The awkward, dorky, far less popular cousin of Final Fantasy.
You wound me! Your words cut deeper than these northern winds!
While it's been steadily gaining popularity in the West over the last couple decades, it's still not one most people are aware of, which breaks my heart because this series has some of the best, most enthralling character writing I've ever seen. Even if the plots are kinda basic at times, the casts are still comprised of relatable dumpster fires you can't help but root for. Most of the time. The Tales series is one that entirely owns my heart and soul, and best believe me when I say that these characters have given me severe brain rot. Even my least favorite games in the series usually have something to enjoy, and so today we're gonna rank the Tales games that I've played. I should say that this isn't going to be comprehensive by any means, because I have not played all of these things. I will be giving my overall thoughts on each entry, and y'all should know I am a characters and story girly, so those are going to get priority over gameplay. But if you feel differently, good for you! This is my video. Deal with it. And since this list consists of the games that I have played and finished, there will be exclusions. The two notable ones that I want to get out of the way are Symphonia and Graces. Yes, I know Tales of Symphonia is the fan favorite Tales. I'm sorry, I've tried playing it and admittedly it's kind of difficult to get into because I'm so used to all the recent entries. However, I do have it on my Steam Deck and I am determined to finish it one day. But that day is not today. And Graces... Okay, I might get killed for this. I couldn't finish it, y'all. I just couldn't. I did not care for the cast in this one at all. Yes, I know y'all love her for her gameplay, but as I said, if I do not care about the cast and story, I'm out. And I didn't care about those here, so there we are. Before we begin, ciao! My name's Thomas, aka the Unicorn of War, and I make videos about whatever the hell I like. Usually it's about animation, video games, and just any story that I can't stop thinking about. If you're a Tales girly, you might have seen my 11-hour diatribe on my disappointments with Arise that I'm shocked hasn't landed me in either an early grave or an asylum yet. If you need more positive videos, behold me yelling about how much I love Tales of Xillia 1 and 2 for 2 hours. And I have a Berseria video in the works, and ideally after that, a Zestiria video. So if all that sounds interesting to you, then consider subscribing and ringing the bell for notifications, because Yuri Lowell is an icon. I mean, YouTube hates creators. Also, please consider, if you're willing and able, pledging your support for myself and the channel over on Patreon. Patrons get early access videos and scripts, Patreon exclusive content, and access to the private Union of War Discord server. Now, without further ado, let the chaos commence. Yeah, I don't think this one's all that surprising for the diehard girlies. Released for the PS Vita in Japan in 2013 and Western regions a year later, Tales of Hearts R is a remake of a DS game. If you were wondering what the R stood for, yeah, it's for remake. Set in the world of Organica, the story follows local loser Core Meteor. Or Shing Meteorite, depending on who you ask. More on that one later. Core lives in the coastal village of Seaville. Get it? Because it's Ville. By the sea. He lives with his grandfather and is training to wield a soma, a device which allows the wielder to enter the hearts of others, called Spiria, and purify them of Spiria-eating monsters called Zerox. I mean Zerom. How does one pronounce this? One day, a young girl named Kohaku washes up on shore, and she and her brother Hisui are being pursued by a psycho robot lady named Inka Rose. During Inka Rose's attack, Core's grandfather dies, and in an attempt to help Kohaku, Core accidentally shatters her Spiria, sending out shards of each of her emotions across the world. Dumbass. So now, Core must venture out with Kohaku and Hisui to help restore Kohaku's Spiria, in the process discovering whomst Inka Rose is and why she's after Kohaku. And all of this, of course, will lead to the end of the world. JRPGs are gonna JRPG after all. I very much enjoyed this game when I initially played it, but upon revisiting it last year, it's safe to say my standards have risen, and I'm not as fond as this one as I was then. That's not to say that Hearts R has a bad story, rather that it's incredibly trite I have seen this premise and these archetypes done better, often in other Tales games. It's fine enough, it functions, it's just there's not enough uniqueness here in this cast to make Hearts an entry that I truly love. Plus, there's just a weird amount of casual misogyny here that I don't usually find in the other Tales games. Like Kohaku continually getting kidnapped, benched, and tortured for the sake of Core's journey and ego. It's still nowhere near as bad as Kairi in Kingdom Hearts, it's just... You know, granted that wasn't a very high bar to clear to begin with. Perhaps it doesn't help also that Hearts suffered due to peculiar localization. I assume because Namco was assuming that this game would not sell well, one, because it was an era Tales was still considered niche, and also because the Vita was owned by a collective 5 people in a toaster, they decided that rather than dub the game, they would simply translate the text. What makes this odd, though, is the choice to not only water down dialogue to try and inject more personality into the characters, but also to change character names. Shing Meteorite was renamed to Core Meteor, which is odd because you can still hear the Japanese voices referring to him as Shing. A few other name changes were made, and Lord knows why. I do kinda get Core as a name since it comes from the Latin word for heart core, but why do that if you're not gonna dub it? And why then leave Kohaku and Hisui's names instead of changing them to Amber and Jadeite? I mean, this game does have a gemstone motif after all, so what the hell? In terms of gameplay, Hearts is also fine, it's nothing special, but it is made a little bit worse for me thanks to the random encounters. I'm sorry, I hate random encounters. It makes me ultra paranoid about every single step I take on the map, and makes me want to actively avoid exploring the environment. That's just who I am. All in all, not a terrible tale, but a deeply forgettable one. Hence, Tales of Hearts are falling to the very bottom of the list. You know what I will say? The fact that the very bottom of the list is still just okay, I think says a lot. Okay, this one also will not shock any of you, given me yelling about my disappointments with Arise for 11 fucking hours. It is a talent to keep talking for that long, okay? Set in the world of Dana, Arise follows the story of Alphen, a masked man who cannot remember his past. He and the other Danans are enslaved by the colonizing Renans, whose leaders are currently competing to become the next sovereign of their homeworld, Rena. Things change when Alphen comes across a Renan woman named Xion, who is being pursued by other Renans after she steals a precious relic from one of the Renan lords. Alphen can't feel pain, while Xion suffers from the Curse of Thorns, which causes incredible pain to any who touch her. Together, these two fall in love, work to liberate Dana from Renan rule, along the way learning the truth behind Xion's curse, and behind the real reason for Renan occupation. Spoilers, it's incredibly stupid and very basic and boils down to faceless aliens inventing racism and brainwashing Renans. Oddly, while most Tales games feel like ensembles with attention given to protagonists, antagonists, and supporting casts, Arise really only seems to care for the protagonists. All but maybe 1 or 2 supporting cast members are entirely forgettable, and the ones that aren't are only memorable because of their tragic, untimely deaths. Because of that, combined with how the world is laid out for the player, Arise feels particularly hollow and lifeless compared to other Tales entries. All of the effort went into the graphics via the new Atmos shader, and while it is beautiful, there's more to a good story and a good game than just good graphics. The protagonists are fine. I like most of them. I love Xion and Dohalim. Dohalim is one of my husbands. But any chances at depth are stolen from most of them just being given nothing to do but stand around and monologue about the game's themes rather than actually being allowed to have their own arcs or moments to be proactive in the story. Antagonists are incredibly shallow and forgettable, which is a crime in a series rich with fantastic villains. Each one is disconnected from the others and only gets to shine for a handful of scenes in each arc of the game before being switched out for the next boring baddie. The true big bad Volron is by far the worst offender of the bunch, due to an underwhelming presence and a lacking motivation and backstory that you don't even get to witness. You just read about it in optional walls of text before the cast yells it at you. I'm playing Final Fantasy VII for the first time. All the comparisons of Volron to Sephiroth are a fucking insult, because we get to see Sephiroth's descent, and it is magnificent so far. And sadly, when you have weak antagonists, that comes at the cost of your protagonists. because the dynamics between these groups not only provide interesting conflict, but helps you to understand the flaws and virtues of everyone involved. The final quarter of the game kicks all these problems into overdrive. There's no actual antagonist in this section, but rather faceless aliens that serve a big dumb alien monster, which are the real cause of all our problems. You know, rather than actual named characters we might have any real connection or relationship with. There are interesting ideas here, but it's also abstract that it holds no weight. I'm just ready for the game to end, especially in the wedge and especially in that final dungeon. Fuck that final dungeon. Oh my god. That's also compounded by the gameplay. Initially, I very much enjoyed Arise's gameplay, but over time, it is most definitely soured on me, especially replaying older Tales entries. There's hardly any thought or strategy beyond waiting out your combo cooldown. The combo attacks get old real quick, as they're the same cinematics over and over, with no real cost to the player, and enemies take forever to kill. I'll probably be murdered for this, considering Arise's popularity when it dropped back in 2021, but I must speak my truth. I dislike Tales of Arise. I at least respect the ambition behind the title, and I can see the skeleton of a great story within, but potential is not enough. That said, if you love Arise, cool. Good for you. Please let other people feel differently. Zestiria. One of the series' black sheeps, but one that fascinates me to no end as I continue to revisit its story and characters. Like Arise, I find Zestiria incredibly disappointing, but I feel a bit more soul behind this one. This one haunts me in a far more pleasant way, where I can't help but imagine what could have been. Released in 2015, Zestiria is set in a medieval fantasy world, where the dark emotions of mankind transform them, animals, and even spirits, called Seraphim, into horrible beasts called Hellions. Because of this, the Seraphim of the land keep their distance from humans. Not that humans would be able to perceive them anyway, as most humans believe their existence to be mere legend. Our hero is Saray, a sweet cinnamon roll who is the only human raised in a mountain village of Seraphim. He's a big old nerd who loves exploring ancient ruins with his best bud and definitely not boyfriend Mikleo. One day, they meet a young knight who stumbles inside the mountain ruins near their home, and curious about the world that she comes from, Saray and Mikleo descend into the human world. What's most compelling about Zestiria to me is its world. I usually love the worlds of the Tales series, and I absolutely love this specific fusion of Japanese Shinto with Arthurian lore, even if the Arthurian bits are quite superficial. The inclusion of malevolence likewise could make for an interesting exploration of human nature, but Zestiria sadly doesn't quite deliver. This one's really proof that cool world building is no replacement for a compelling story. The cast is quite lacking here. It's far better than Arise's in the sense that, you know, I remember the names of villains and supporting characters. Again, not a high bar to clear. Most of the protagonists don't really feel like they have a reason to be here, nor do they have upfront arcs that help you to get to know them better. Most of their character work is subtle to the point of being buried under skits upon skits about equipment skills and equipment fusion. Saray himself is fine, and while his archetype has been done to death, I at least feel his love for history and his earnesty make him endearing enough to work for me. But the rest of the cast, Mikleo's got nothing really going on other than supporting Saray. Zavid feels like a cameo character with no reason to be here. And while Rose, Lila, Edna, and Dezel all feel like cool premises for characters, that's all they feel like at the end of the day. Cool premises. The most complex of the bunch, Princess Alicia, that knight I mentioned earlier, is written out of the story a third of the way through the game. Her struggles in finding her place in a kingdom that openly resents her feel glossed over, as while we know her mother was a commoner, we don't know anything else about her family to help us understand her better. And that's kind of how it goes for the rest of the cast too. The villains suffer the most. It's similar to Arise in that most of them are disconnected from each other, even if they are supposedly working together off screen. Some of them are interesting, like the holier-than-thou Cardinal Fortin, or Simone, an illusionist seraph whose curse of death has plunged her into self-hatred and loneliness. but their lack of presence in the story and the obtuseness of their exact circumstances prevent them from living up to their potential. Other villains, such as the fox assassin Lunar, also severely lack in presence, but also have barely anything beyond the barest of archetypes to work with. The main villain, Heldolf, is the Lord of Calamity, and he is one of the most boring, underwhelming villains I've ever seen. He has no real connection to the protagonists, hardly any presence, and even when you do learn about how he came to be what he is now, you're just like, okay. And the story structurally feels solid enough, but like it is missing a lot of the fluff and connective tissue that would help fully flesh out its cast. Even so, at its core, Zestiria is a stock standard story of good versus evil that flirts with the idea of complexity, but ultimately doesn't feel like it quite knows what it wants to say, or how to say it. And gameplay-wise, Zestiria is not much fun to play either. A lot of ambition was put into creating a large scope and deeper immersion, but both backfired. Fields are large, barren wastelands that take far too long to traverse. Battles no longer have separate arenas, causing many a camera issue because these places were not designed for close quarters combat, and basic copy-paste ruins and caves that have no character whatsoever and feel like they were made by AI and procedural generation. At the end of the day, Zestiria feels incomplete. Even with a cliche story, if more effort was put into giving the characters more things to do, creating more interesting, active antagonists, and fixing the goddamn gameplay, this could have been a solid entry, maybe even one of the better ones. But as it stands, Zestiria is meh. It's pretty much there for you to daydream about the cool world building that a cooler story might have existed in. Foreshadowing is a narrative device. This one is a fan favorite, so I gotta be careful in case this one also gets me killed. Not to say I dislike Vesperia. I never got to play it when it first came out since it released on the Xbox 360 in 2008, and I was never an Xbox girly. But when the game got remastered, I finally was able to give it a chance, and while it didn't become an all-time favorite, I still very much enjoyed my time with it. Set in the world of Terca Lumeres, I really like saying that, humans live in the Empire. Yeah, it's just the Empire, okay? Not even like the Lumeres Empire, really? Really, bitch? But most humans rely on the protection of the Empire from monsters, primarily through the use of technology called Blastia to perform magic. Our hero, Yuri Lowell, isn't a teenager, nor a hero. I know it's so rare for anime-adjacent things to acknowledge anyone exists between the ages of 18 and 80. Yuri used to be an Imperial Knight, but left because they were corrupt sons of bitches, and he was too cool for school. And now he lives in the neglected slums of the capital city of Zaphias. Some asshat steals the Blastia that powers the slum's fountain, causing severe flooding, and Yuri then goes on a quest to get it back. Along this journey, he and his fighting dog Rapide meet totally not Princess Estelle, who takes far too long in the game to reveal she is in fact the princess. And after escaping the castle, they go to find Yuri's BFF and possibly ex-boyfriend Flynn, for reasons that Estelle will not disclose. From here, the story continues to expand in scope and change direction, which often gave me insane amounts of whiplash. And it all culminates, of course, with our heroes trying to stop climate change. Okay, sure, why not? I adore Vesperia's main cast. Collectively, it's giving a band of misfit nerds and dorks who don't always get along. In fact, most of the times they're ready to fucking kill each other.
I see. So first you get us alone in the dark, then you zap us, huh?
Zap. I like the way that sounds.
Hey, what's that supposed to mean? Why are you smiling like that?
But you know, that just means more chaotic fireworks to enjoy. Yuri is a bad boy who means well, but his chaotic good nature often puts him at odds with the law, especially when he decides to take matters into his own hands.
The laws have always been the tools of whoever happens to hold all the chips.
Just saying that doesn't make it right for individuals to judge right from wrong, or for you to operate your own private court of law. If the laws are at fault, then fixing those laws comes first. It's for that very reason that I'm still with the Imperial Knights.
But you can't deny that lives were saved because those bastards were put down. You'd rather tell those people, sorry you have to die today, I promise we'll change things soon. I recognize it for what it is, and I've made my choices. Murder is a crime.
And even knowing that, you intend to dirty your hands.
Intend to? I already have.
Stell is a princess and a healer, and though she is quite sheltered, she can still handle herself, for she is a strong, independent princess, and she can easily keep up with Yuri's nonsense. Flynn is a good bean who's very much still lawful good, but you know, he means well, even if he's not the sharpest tool in the shed. I expected to hate Carol as the obligatory kid character, but he is actually quite endearing, trying to find his place in the world and prove himself. Rita's definitely a fan favorite for her misanthropy and quick wit, especially as she has to reevaluate her love of Blastia as a mage when their destructive nature is discovered. Judith, though, takes the cake, because not only are her motivations intriguing, but I adore the way that she manages to be both unhinged and chill at the same time.
Here you go.
Judith, darling, you've got nerves of steel.
Do you think it might be cursed?
I aspire to her lunacy. Raven and Patty are fine, I guess. I didn't really start to care about Raven until the big twist with his character, if you know, you know. But he's still my least favorite member of the cast alongside Patty. Patty is understandable though, since she was introduced to the game when it got ported to the PS3. For the most part, her inclusion is pretty seamless, but I can't help but feel she doesn't feel quite relevant. Also, the details of her backstory still deeply confuse me, but you know, that's for another time. Sadly, my enthusiasm does not extend to the antagonists. I'm noticing I tend not to like it when antagonists are all disconnected from each other, but at the very least, Vesperia antagonists are a bit more fun compared to those from Arise and Zestiria. Like Zagi, the Tumblr assassin whose love for Yuri makes him want to kill him real bad.
Prepare to fall victim to my blade!
Haven't you ever heard of knocking?
Deeply irrelevant, but I commend his efforts to try and be relevant. We stan. We support bad gays. Alexei, our pretend big bad, suffers from both lack of presence and being boring as sin, but at least his bad voice acting makes him a bit funnier.
And now it has returned to spread the ruin it once rained down upon the ancients. And to think, I caused it all. The ultimate irony.
And the real big bad, Duke, has a killer design. But that's about it. His misanthropy and backstory are interesting, and he is kind of an evil Disney princess with his love of animals. But he's basically just a cameo for like 90% of the game till he becomes the final boss out of nowhere. Okay, ultimately what holds Vesperia back for me is its disjointed story and theming. While I do love the protagonists and the chill vibe of their journey, their stories don't coalesce into a greater whole. The debate between Yuri and Flynn about whether to do murder for the sake of justice, Estelle reckoning with the destruction brought on by her existence itself, and the whole, oh no, Blast is destroying the world thing. These all could feed into each other, but don't. They feel like separate stories and separate themes all haphazardly stitched together, so it never feels like Vesperia is building to this one thing that it's trying to say. Instead, it feels like it has far too many things to say, and no idea how to weave them all together. Ironically, Xillia 1 shares a lot of these themes and elements, and feels like a more refined version of Vesperia's story. At the very least, the gameplay is fun. The combat is a bit slow for my liking, especially compared to more recent entries, but you know, at least this one doesn't actively irritate me like Arise and Zestiria. At the end of the day, Vesperia is good for the vibes, even if the story is low-key a mess. High-key a mess. My first Tales game, but not the PS2 version. Nah, I didn't get to experience this one till its 3DS port. The 3D feature was awful, yes, but you know, I never used that to begin with, so who cares? The point is that when I played Abyss, I was hooked, and it's been a downward Tales spiral ever since. Taking place in the world of Aldrent, the people here live by an ancient prophecy known as Julia's Score. It is said that to live by the score guarantees prosperity, and since its conclusion is missing, the nations of Kimlaska and Malkuth have been warring over it for centuries, with the Order of Lorelei, a theocracy built around the score, acting as a middleman. Our story follows Luke von Fabre, the scion of one of Kimlaska's most prominent noble families. What the hell is a noil? Annoying oil? Luke was kidnapped when he was young, allegedly by Malkuth, and since his return has developed amnesia. He can't remember anything from before his kidnapping, but it's also worse than the usual amnesia because he had to relearn how to walk and talk. Because of that, his parents have forbidden him from leaving his manor, much to his chagrin. One day, while training with his swordmaster Van Grants, a highly esteemed member of the Order of Lorelei, an assassin breaks into the manor to try and kill him. Trying to save Van, Luke jumps in the middle, and as a result of he and the assassin's powers clashing, they are teleported halfway across the world. Don't you just hate it when that happens? The assassin, revealed to be the younger sister of Van by the name of Tyr, has no beef with Luke and so offers to take him home. How kind of an assassin. But of course, they accidentally wind up deep in Malkuth territory because we gotta get a plot going. And in that journey to get Luke back home, our leading dumbasses wind up becoming ambassadors for peace, working against an insidious scheme by the Order of Lorelei to incite war. All I was trying to do was have a normal day, and somehow I'm stopping wars. JRPGs. Abyss takes so much care to make you understand its entire cast, be they a hero, villain, or even a minor character. Luke's journey of self-discovery and acceptance, going from a spoiled brat to a humble hero, is one of my favorite character arcs pretty much of all time. I'm trying real hard not to spoil things because the story is just so delicious, but there is such a huge theme in the story about identity and replaceability and what it is to make your own way in life. It's so good. It's so good. The villains in Abyss, dare I say, are probably the best set of villains in the entire Tales series, because the game takes the effort to not only provide them with plenty of screen time and presence, and each of them gets a direct rivalry with one of the main characters. Wish we did that more, but also make sure that you understand their motivations and goals. They are people first, antagonists second. Holy moly, this game. Can we get a remaster of this one, please? With voiced skits, perhaps? There are a few hiccups holding Abyss back from the top spots, though. The last quarter of the game features a lot of backtracking. You'll be going from one town to another just for cutscenes with not much action in between. Normally not an issue for me, but, it gets grating. But the real killer is the lexicon. It's no secret that fantasy stories and JRPGs will use a lot of made-up words, but Abyss takes it to another goddamn level. Phonons, seventh phonists, isophone, phone slots, phone numbers, aggregate sentience, hyperresonance, phomicry, planet storm, memory particles, Sephiroth. No, not that one. No, not that one either. Come on. The game does explain these terms, but it can still be very, very difficult to parse and follow. And when I hear about criticisms of Abyss, it usually has to do with how much of the script gets dogged down by the sci-fi word salads. I still love it with all my fucking heart, but I do realize that if I were to introduce this one to newbies, I'd have to do so much legwork to translate this into normal people's speech. That said, you can pry Abyss from my cold dead fucking hands. She is that girl. She will always be that girl. Yeah, these two just have to go together. They just do.
That is cheating!
Regular viewers, you probably know that I already made a video about my love for the Zillias. If you didn't watch it, go watch it now, or you're grounded. But suffice to say, I loved the Zillias when they came out, and my love for them has only continued to age like a fine wine. TLDR, Zillia 1 is set in the world of Rizamaxia, where our dual leads are Mila Maxwell, the enigmatic Lord of Spirits, and Jude Mathis, a 15-year-old medical student. Still not over that. Mila's out to destroy a weapon of war that also kills spirits, and Jude winds up getting mixed up in her mission. And then in Zillia 2, set 1 year later, we follow Luger Kresnik, a young man who is tasked with destroying alternate timelines to save his own. Yes, they are related, and yes, they share a cast, and yes, it is as wild as it sounds. I love the stories, I love the casts, and these are arguably the most chill entries of the series. Zillia 2 specifically really gives the vibes of trying to navigate adult friendship while also saving the world and destroying it. It's complicated. It's complicated, much like adulthood. Zillia 1 feels a bit rushed towards the end, and Zillia 2 is definitely far more convoluted, but the theming and character work is just so good in both. The pacing's great, the fantasy terms aren't too overwhelming, and the gameplay slaps. High-key, Zillia 1 and 2 have my favorite combat systems in the entire series, being both fast and robust. I will not be taking notes. I said what I said. Surprising absolutely no one who knows me, Tales of Berseria is absolutely my favorite Tales game, and quite possibly my favorite game of all time. That's right, bitch. I said it. I said it, and I'll say it again. Every time I replay this one, I find new things to love, and I cry. Waterfall cry. Every hour on the hour. Set in the same world as Tales of Zestiria, but 1,000 years prior, our story follows Velvet Crow, a girl from the small rustic village of a ball. I don't know if their mascot is a ball. Look, it means apple. It means apple. Velvet lost her older sister Celica 7 years ago during the Scarlet Night, where a disease known as demon blight began turning people into bloodthirsty monsters called demons. Since then, Velvet has been taking care of her sickly younger brother Laphicet, albeit with the help of her older brother-in-law Arthur. Another Scarlet Night occurs, during which Arthur, sacrifices Laphicet to the gods in a ritual to try and counter the demon blight. Okay, that's a choice. Velvet tries to stop him, but in the process becoming a demon herself. But not just any demon. One that devours other demons with a massive claw for her left hand. She's not like other demons. Arthur, now Artorius, has imprisoned her and become known as the world's savior, the Shepherd. 3 years later, Velvet breaks the fuck out and will stop at nothing to kill Artorius and avenge her brother and bathe in his blood. Unlike other entries, Tales of Berseria leans hard into most of our cast this time around being anti-heroes, if you can even call them that. They're not out to save the world, but rather only end up doing so pursuing their own individual selfish agendas. Selfish coexistence, you could say. But ultimately, that winds up working perfectly in service of this game's themes about human nature, morality, emotion versus reason, overthrowing the state. And as a queer person surviving the 2020s, yeah, the idea of fighting back against institutions, especially heavily evangelical-coded ones that are hell-bent on stamping out your existence, yeah, I don't think it should be a shock that I'm very much down for burning the Abbey to the motherfucking ground. The ones who walked away from Omelas, more like the ones who burned down Omelas. Berseria's complexity aided in its perfect pacing, its resonant emotional storytelling combined with great conveyance, and its willingness to lean into the inherent messiness of human emotion all conspire to make this the perfect entry for me. The combat may be very button mashy, especially compared to other entries, but you know what? It's smooth and cathartic enough to work for me. Fight me. Especially compared to its predecessor. Holy shit. You have no idea how excited I am for the Berseria video. Oh my god. How long is the script now? I think the script's already like 6,000 words and I'm not even like halfway through it. It might be 11 hours, like the Arise video, except instead of hating a game, it's going to be me loving a game for 11 hours. So, all you haters can shut the fuck up. So, yeah, there's my ranking of the Tales series. As of right now, I may update this in the future as I play more entries and I continue to change as a person. How about y'all? What's your favorite Tales or your least favorite? How much do you want me dead for dissing your beloved? Be sure to let me know in the comments for that sweet, sweet engagement, because unlike Magilu, I care far too fucking much. Anyhow, if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more content like this from me, then be sure to subscribe and ring that bell for notifications because YouTube hates creators. And again, consider pledging your support over on Patreon. I'm the Unicorn of War, and I blame my writing style being a shit show on this goddamn motherfucking series.